testimony. And thank you, Mr. Escobar, for the introduction. This community is wound up because over a span of 5 years, things got worse in terms of abuse here. I'm just going to put it as simple as that. Mr. Jones, okay, suffered deadly force in the arrest of a misdemeanor. My understanding is that's illegal. Nothing's been done about that. And you cannot use deadly force for a trespass, which is what his potential charge was. In the process of that, as Monica has just said tearfully, and we all were in tears hearing about this, is that the officer who supervised, it's not clear which officer it was, but one of them was a sergeant, okay, he's failed the supervisory duty in terms of watching and permitting that deadly force that almost killed Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones was in the hospital and they took 2 liters of blood out of his lungs, okay, because they crushed him, okay? That is bad. That is wrong. Now, what made it worse was we have a lieutenant who's on the force right now still, who, when he went over to Astoria General or whatever it's called these days, the emergency room there, you're saying, oh, he's having a problem with pneumonia. Okay, this man who ran about 8 blocks, okay, from over there, his building, okay, to down in Manhattan Park, Randolph Street, is suffering from pneumonia. Not true, but all in the guise of pushing it off, okay, pushing the doctors off on what the real diagnosis was. In my sense, that's morally wrong for a police officer, or excuse me, a law enforcement officer, to be misleading medical staff on the medical condition of that. That has to be fixed. We cannot permit that. We cannot permit officers to mislead doctors on what is wrong. This started with, as you've heard about, the TAP program and trespass. And Ms. Short's right here. And I agree with Ms. Short, so I don't want to sound like I'm disagreeing with her on this, because in my building, we recognize noise and noise problems need to be addressed, but there needs to strike a balance. I would also point out that Eastwood, and I've foiled the records, and so I've done this statistical look over the past 10 years, does have a disproportionately higher number of trespass summonses and arrests compared to all the other buildings on Roosevelt Island. I would also point out that in this whole process here, and with other arrests, the officers have fabricated complaints. So what this means from a district attorney's perspective is that when you have someone coming down and getting arraigned, and they show up and they hear fabricated complaints, stuff that's just factually wrong, okay, it sets the bar much higher on them. And 2/3 of this island is in affordable housing. That means that those people don't have the ability to defend themselves properly because they're going to have to plead to something which ruins their careers. Okay? And to top it off, the criminal complaints themselves are based on hearsay. They're based on criminal complaints from officers who were not present in that. It's Officer X reporting to Officer Y. My understanding from Officer Y is that Officer X said such and such and so and so. Those produce a lot of inaccuracies here. So my question is, and the last thing I want to say is, because we have a lot of affordable housing here, we have Section 8 housing, and what Section 8 housing does is that really lowers the threshold because Section 8 evictions can proceed based on lower thresholds, based on reported criminal complaints. So we really have to walk a fine line. I'm not interested in having bad people stay around and do bad things, but we have to realize that there is a delicate balance that needs to be struck here. And I look forward to hearing your responses as to what you think you'd like to do about it. Thank you for your coming here. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Frank. As I indicated, there is an ongoing investigation that has not been completed. So I'm going to respect it's obviously in contrast to the way the criminal justice system should work. I can tell you that since I've been district attorney, we have, and I don't take pride in it, but just talking about the numbers, we prosecuted about 16 or 17 police officers. Some of them for fabricating circumstances of stops that they claim to have made, but in reality it turned out something different. So when we find evidence of a clear misrepresentation of facts, it does not stop our office from, in those cases, actually investigating and prosecuting police officers. I'm not saying that last year, I'm just telling you that's, we are not shy if the case falls out to those months. And what I can say, Frank, is I've heard you, because I've heard the other residents here today. I will go back to my office and I will give you an opportunity to talk to the head of our practice bureau in the building integrity section and to raise with him the questions you raised with me, and to tell you that I'll try to get a better read on what the office's information is on the subject